Greetings. I'm Reverend Jennifer Cormier, proud creator of this podcast. In my recent private work, I've been helping successful women to release the pressure they put on themselves so they can feel at peace and have way more fun in their lives. And this is exactly what we do in the Grace Collective, a virtual spiritual community of soulful, big hearted creatives who value authentic connection and joy. At the Grace Collective, we practice keeping our hearts open and our sense of humor in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Just like you, we've each moved through various life losses and we've risen up through the ashes. And we've risen up through the ashes. Greetings. I'm Reverend Jennifer Cormier, ceremonial artist and proud creator of this podcast. In my recent private work, I've been helping successful women release the pressure they put on themselves so they can feel at peace and have way more fun in their lives. This is exactly what we do at the Grace Collective, a virtual spiritual community of soulful, big hearted creatives who value authentic connection and joy. At the Grace Collective, we practice keeping our hearts open and our sense of humor in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Just like you, we've each moved through various life losses and we've risen up through the ashes. We're leaders, artists, healers, aunties, mothers, grandmothers who gather to heal, grow, and create together. We honor our bodies, the earth, and all beings as sacred, knowing that nature, friendship, and laughter are all good medicine for the soul. We meet at the intersection of spirituality, embodiment, and creativity as part of our activism and our legacy. So I welcome you if you are a soulful woman looking for more community, creativity, laughter, and fun. I invite you to join the Grace Collective. We're offering our listeners 1 month of membership as a gift. Visit www.gracecollective.us and check out the show notes for more details. I look forward to connecting with you there. Until then, I send warmth and gratitude from my heart to yours. So today I want to welcome Hannah Rumsey onto the show. I'm so happy that you took the time to be here and reached out to us at the Walk Through Grief with Grace podcast about friend loss. And this is something that is one of the many disenfranchised types of grief that people don't really consider in the same way they might some other types of grief. So thank you for the work that you do and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'll tell everyone a little bit about you before we launch into conversation. So Hannah is a writer. She's also a podcaster. She's a certified grief educator herself, based in Chicago. And since the death of her beloved friend named Lauren in 2015, she hasn't been able to stop writing about it. And she started with a one-woman show called 42 Days of Summer. And also, she's got a memoir in progress that's called L is for Lauren. In 2023, she founded Friends Missing Friends, a podcast and community that offers peer support and friend loss grief groups. Her mission is to speak out about how friend loss is a disenfranchised grief and to nurture a community where friend loss grievers feel seen and understood. Yeah. This is so important because so many times we don't feel seen and understood. And that is one of our basic human needs. Every single person on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
no matter your age or your background, we all need to feel seen and understood in our humanity and in our individuality and our humanness alike. So thank you for the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for talking to me about it today.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we could start in a lot of different places, but
Hmm.
I'd really love to just hear about your friendship with this one particular good friend named Lauren. So I just
Hmm.
love to honor her spirit and her like soul that is clearly living on through your love and your heart. Um, it's gonna make me cry. So,
Oh.
um, friendship is so important, really, in our lives. It's our chosen family.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
um, so many people that I talk to and meet, because of loss, because of not being able to communicate deep things, there are so many families that are estranged and so many people that are cut off from family members. And
Hmm.
in this way, our friendships really can be, our deepest soul connection. And it sounds like that's really what you had with this friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to tell you about her. Um, yeah, I could talk about her for hours, forever and ever. So we met. It's like I always have to give the context of how we met
Yes, of
to like
course. I was going to
put
say
this into
start with how you
yeah.
met. Yeah. Okay.
Start from the beginning. Yeah. So we met when I was 17 and she was 15 at a summer camp called Interlochen. And it's in northern Michigan. It's a beautiful camp for the arts.
Mhm.
And we both played brass instruments. So I played the trumpet and she played the French horn.
Mm,
And so, for even more context, at that point in my life, being a teenager is already so hard. And
yeah.
there's so much grief. I was going through grief without knowing it. I was grieving the end of my childhood. I was grieving the end of most of my friendships. I think I just read the other day about the great scattering that happens in our 20s when all of our friends kind of scatter and there's this grief with that. I feel
Mm,
like my scattering happened a little earlier because I went to a different high school than my friends.
mm,
So I was going through a great scattering of my own where all the belonging I had scattered.
mm,
And I felt very, very alone at that time, was desperate for a friend, was desperate to be seen and understood. Like you were saying, like our grief needs to be seen and understood. And then also just as people in this world, we need to be seen and understood.
mhm,
And I I'm still like this today, but especially at the time, it's like I needed a person to pull me into life to live. Like I was normally like behind glass watching everyone live. I was an observer of other people living.
mhm.
And like that summer with her, it's like by her side, I lived. I really lived. Yeah, you're now I'm gonna cry. Um, yeah, like she really cracked me open. Um, and it's funny because everyone I've talked to who's known her, all of her friends, family, they've all said she was the funniest person I've ever known.
Mhm.
Um, and to this day, she's still one of the funniest people I've ever known. Like she was so funny, so wild, so free. Um, and one example I like to give because it just shows like, one of the many reasons why that summer was so special. I was grieving the end of my childhood, and then I got one last summer of childhood with her.
Mm, mm,
Because she had such a playful spirit. And I remember one day we were just walking together and she just kind of for no reason just runs off. And I'm like, what is she doing? Like she just started running and I noticed that she was actually galloping like a horse like a little kid would do, randomly. And it took like a half a second, but after a half a second, I joined in with her and we were both galloping and like neighing and we were teenagers. We weren't, 5 years old. So like, but we were in that spirit of childhood. And I just remember like that friendship with her really solidified how it takes one person
Mm.
for you to belong. One.
Mm.
Um, and like when I was next to her, I belonged. When I was next to her, I was not worried about being embarrassed. Like, I didn't care what people thought of us when we were galloping and neighing. Like, it was like we would laugh at the world if they laughed at us.
Yeah.
Like, they were the ones who didn't understand what was happening. Um, so,
You were a galloping inside joke.
yes, yes, exactly. Um, yeah, so it's just that it was 6 weeks together, 42 days, which is why my play is called 42 Days of Summer. Um, and it was just the most beautiful, glorious, jam-packed with joy summer I've ever had. And in my grief after her death, like so much of my grief has been trying to analyze and understand our bond and our friendship. And
Hmm.
I've even added up the hours, like kind of done the math to kind of prove to myself that we were as close as I thought. And a lot of adult friendships, you spend maybe a few hours or a couple hours together a week. And so that those 6 weeks were actually like 10 years worth of like an adult friendship if we had spent a couple hours a week. So it was like years and years worth of bond in a really short period of time.
Hmm. Wow. I I just I resonate with so much of what you said. And
Mm.
you know, you shared that it really only takes one person to feel like
Mm-hmm.
you belong, and I think that it's so powerful to go from feeling so alone to like you belong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, I mean, yes, we all need community in a village, but even if you just have that one person, whoever that is, it can really pull us. And I love that analogy that you used, because I felt very much like that in college too. Like I was watching the rest of the world. Like there was,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a friend and we would sit on, we called it the bench, and we would sit on
Oh.
and watch all the other people coming in and out of the nightclub and coming in and out of the bars. And, you
Mm.
know, and it was very much like a practice of observation, like observing other people living. But of course, in that,
Yeah.
our own sort of friendship that we had in that. But um, and the other thing I just wanted to highlight is the great scattering. I've never heard that term, and
Mm.
I don't know how old you are right now, but I'm 47, and I can still feel the reverberations. I still can feel the thread of grief that runs through my life around that great scattering of when um I've actually heard of interlocking, but I taught at a teen camp in my 20s for about
Mm.
7 different years. And I had very good friends that would come, just for one summer or multiple summers. And those places, I lived in New York City for some years, or there were certain places, and then there'd be this scattering, everyone in
Mm.
the city, right? Or everyone, no, the summer would be over, and all those relationships that were very deep, just like they were for the campers, also for the counselors and staff. And then
Mm-hmm.
a great scattering, right? In September.
Yeah.
And there is such a loss. Like, well, I had this foundation of friendship and support and community, and then poof, it's like a
Mm-hmm.
dandelion blown out, all little seeds blown out into the
Yeah.
that really, I love that there's a term for that. Um, and you named that here, because I think a lot of folks listening will resonate that at least at some point in their life they had that, where there was, oh yeah, there was that great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually read that term, I think it was yesterday in a bookstore because I want to give credit to who created that term. I haven't read the whole book, but I cracked open the book called Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Huh?
And she talked about the grief of the great scattering, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, that is exactly what I was feeling at that point in time when I met her. And I feel like we go through many different great scatterings throughout our life, but yeah, what you described with the dandelions, such a good metaphor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this friendship, you knew Lauren, was it really just this one summer you dropped in and had this very deep friendship with her? And then
Yes.
pass,
Hmm.
she dies shortly after that, or give us a little timeline. Um,
Yeah. So she died 6 years after camp, when she was 21. And we very much were still friends, but it was a long distance friendship after camp, because we lived in different states. And we would have what we called Skype marathons and just Skype for like 5 hours and just be howling with laughter. Um, and yeah, so like I had actually only seen her in person one other time after camp, and that is one of the many regrets that I've had.
mm,
Um, and something I've had to tell myself is like, I thought we had a lifetime.
yeah.
Like, I can't beat myself up for not having visited her. I thought we had 80 years.
Mm,
But that regret is, it's hard not to be affected by that.
mm. Whew, that hits, right? I thought we'd have a lifetime. I feel like we all think
Yeah.
we have like a solid 100 years to live on this planet, and so does everybody else, and there'll always be more time to get together. So um
Yeah.
I I feel that regret. I feel that regret in you. And I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of folks will say, oh gosh, I also, you know, have a regret
Yeah.
getting together, you know, not connecting more.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tricky because it's one of those many stories I tell myself, and like a big part of my grief journey has been untangling these stories. And what I mean by stories are like um kind of like beliefs, like I should have done this, I should have done that. And one way that I've untangled the beliefs that don't serve me is by writing, which is why like I said I can't stop writing about it. I keep writing. And like one story I told myself for years that I didn't untangle until a couple years ago was, so after her memorial service, I went into her bedroom for the very first time,
Mhm,
and I found this box. I had permission to go through her things. Her mother said, like, please, look through everything. And I looked through this box that was by her bed. And inside the box were Interlaken goodbye letters. So she had gone to Interlaken for 3 summers and I had only gone to one. So she had like so many letters because it was a tradition at Interlaken to give each other goodbye letters at the
mhm,
end of camp. And I was looking for mine because like at that time I was looking for proof through without really knowing I was looking for proof that we were friends. Like where am I in her bedroom, you know?
mhm,
Um, and my letter to her was the very last letter. It was at the very, very bottom.
mhm,
And I immediately attached a story to that. And because I was in such deep grief, the story I attached was, oh, she never read that letter again. Like she put it in the box and she never touched it again. And that my unhealthy belief was that, like, oh, my friendship to her didn't mean as much to her as she did to me. And I held that for years. And it wasn't until a couple years ago that I was writing and I wrote, I don't even know how I got to this. It just kind of tangentially happened, but I wrote a scene where I had died and she was going through my bedroom. So I had to imagine what my bedroom would look like if she hadn't died. And her letter would have been unceremoniously tucked into a plastic bag with all the other letters because our friendship was alive and uh, and well, and I didn't have to keep reading the letter to remember her. I could just call her. And then I was able to switch that story of like, oh, I I had just like attached that story to my letter being at the bottom, but like it doesn't mean that I didn't mean something to her, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. Makes so much sense. The reason why you see me like going like this is my cat was outside. He has hunted some animal that he is chasing under my feet and under
Oh
my
my gosh.
so there's
Oh
something
no.
there's a hunting going on
Oh my
around
gosh.
me. Usually I'll be able to like save the lizard and say, so I'm just gonna let this go and
Oh.
see what's happening. When we're done, we'll see where this
Oh my gosh.
um yeah, it's so interesting. You bring up we just had an episode with Molly Pearson, who has a business called Birthdays in a Box. And
Oh.
she has this, let's see if I can actually grab it. Um, Speaking to your idea of like wanting to have that connection and wanting to have that
Yeah.
proof, right? Like wanting to have tangible proof of like, where's this love? Her story, it's Birthdays from Beyond, and her story
Mm.
is that and you can go back and listen to that episode, anyone that's I'm referencing this, but um her family had a real tradition of really beautiful birthday card writing with her dad.
Mm.
Her dad was diagnosed with cancer, and she came up with this idea to have him create like a box of birthday cards for her, where he would write a whole bunch of birthday cards, put them in the box, and he's still working on them. He's still alive.
Oh.
She can have the box, and every year that she has a birthday, she can open up a birthday card from beyond.
Wow, that's a beautiful idea. Wow.
So, a lot of us really shy away from like this idea of death and dying and, our own mortality. And I've always been that, like, I was always that kid that loved cemeteries and, you know, it didn't really phase me
Mm.
as something to avoid. Um, let's see. Interesting. I'm gonna do that. Um, so I don't know. I feel like there's if we're willing to go there, if we're willing to contemplate our own mortality when we're healthy
Hmm.
and feeling quote unquote young, whatever that means, whether we're in our 20s
Yeah.
young or our 80s feeling young, there are some things that we can do if we're thinking about the people that we love, whether we have a terminal illness or whether we're just feeling great. We could have, and this is something that I've started to do in a few ways and I plan to do is like, well, how could I, my favorite book or this piece of art or something, like I'd like that to go to this friend. Why don't I write a card, and stick
Mm.
it behind that piece? And then if I were to die next month and folks were to go through my things, there would be a card attached to different items. And it would
Oh, wow.
be like, oh, who gets, I guess my kid gets all my stuff or my mom or whoever. And people just kind of go through things, but there would be really intentional, thoughtful gifting.
Mm.
Goodbye letters, like these goodbye letters from camp. What if we wrote our goodbye letters now, just to, and
Yeah.
and not as a dark thing, not as a, you know, oh, that doesn't seem psychologically healthy. Like, are they contemplating suicide? No, not for that purpose, but in fact, the opposite. It would be more like,
Hmm.
let me reconnect to why I'm alive. Let me reconnect to love. Like, what do I love the most? And I can focus on my love. And love these people in my life. Let me pour out my love. If I were to disappear
Mm.
today, what love could I pour out to these different folks and leave it so that they can find it and so that that love can continue after we die? And that's really the work that I've been doing around grief, people say, well, isn't grief so much different than than wedding work, or so much different than whatever purpose or business? Or I'm like, no, it's all about love.
Yeah.
It's all about love. It's all about, the love that we have. And it's all about keeping that channel of inspiration and love open.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we suffer. And I would just, that'll just bridge me into asking you about this one woman show,
Mm-hmm.
how I think when people suffer the most, they're creating their own suffering around the concept of grief. And they think that grief needs to be dark, painful, and it needs to be suffering. Not saying that we're not going to
Mm.
be sad, that we're not going to have pain, but we don't have to have this perpetual suffering. That's of our own making because we've damned ourselves off to love. And the people that I
Mm.
see that are really thriving after big losses, it's because they've made meaning. They've seen the evidence of love. They know, they trust in the love they had with that person,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like, in honor of this love, I'm going to keep the love going by starting
Mm-hmm.
a scholarship fund, by writing this one woman show, by doing this work in the world, by right. So then there's like there's an opportunity, like the person might be gone. That object of your love is no longer in physical form, but
Mm-hmm.
then you have the capacity to open up. It's like the river, that river that's gone like this opens up near the ocean. And now there's like all these other pathways of love. And that's
Mm.
what I'm sensing has happened with you. Just have, it's not like we've known each other long, we just met, but that there was a very specific summer, a very specific friendship with this person that is named Lauren, but that after she was gone, your love, that friendship, that love that you had for this friend, now it has the opportunity to go in all these places. You're on this podcast, you have your own podcast, you're writing your one woman show, and now it's affecting so many more people than if it were just the two of you on a video call.
Yes, that's so interesting because yeah, it took, to be totally honest, it took years for me to open up in the way you're describing. I think I think this is true for a lot of people, definitely not everybody, but like I felt the need to hold it tight
Yeah.
to keep it, which caused a constriction, like a holding off, like, and I think I wasn't open to receiving love, if that
Mm,
makes sense.
yes, it makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of time, and it took reflection. It took, I hate to say the word work because it that makes it sound bad. But like it took me really digging into it. I had to dive into the pain to come out the other side with love, if that makes sense. Like, and really just, yeah, just like dig my hands into it. And like the way I did that, and it's different for everybody, but like when you were saying putting it into motion, it really is about putting it into motion. And for me, that was writing and storytelling and talking about it.
Mhm.
And through doing that, not only did I move it through my body and through my soul, but like I also was able to make meaning. And I don't know if you've heard, but David Kessler has a book called Finding Meaning,
Mhm.
I believe is the name. And um he has clarified many times like it's not finding meaning in the death, it's finding meaning in your life
Mm.
after the death. It's not like to say like they died for this reason. It's like what meaning are you now making with your life?
Yes.
And um that I think that that's not something that can always be rushed or forced.
No.
I think it yeah, it's like flowing with the river. You can't rush how fast the river goes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think in our society, things are so fast, especially with
Hmm.
technology and AI and everything, we've got deadlines and things should take a certain amount of time. We're really on the clock, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure, and grief takes its own time. The human heart and soul, the mammalian body, their timeline is much slower than technology. And there's like this we don't want it to be so slow, but it is. And um and I think that that can be beautiful if we surrender to allow
Mm-hmm.
the time that it takes, and that you know the meaning making, that's a process of integrating things and moving things and sharing things. It just, a lot goes into that integration and that
Mm-hmm.
readiness, to continue their story, like to evolve the meaning, and to really let that inform your life, and let the story, um let the story of them, the story of the loss, there's an alchemy that happens and affects, that will affect our present, and that'll help shape our future. And it does. It takes time and space. And just honoring anyone that's listening, to really hear Hannah say, it took a long time, like I wasn't ready. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Just to give yourself a lot of grace, which is like,
Yes.
it's, one of my sort of root word here, is just like
Mm-hmm.
to give yourself a grace period, give yourself a softness, give yourself the time, let yourself be slow, let yourself rest. All of that is integral in this evolution.
Yeah. And like one thing that I think really helps grease that motion is when someone or people really see and understand you. And that's because I feel like not being seen, not being heard, not being understood with your grief and your love, which is especially true for disenfranchised grief, I
Mm-hmm.
think it can make the process sticky. And
Yeah.
it definitely kept me stuck longer, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and that is why like I really am dedicating my time and energy to like seeing and understanding other people because I know what it feels like to not be heard and how that just makes it so hard
Yeah.
to integrate the grief.
Yeah. So you've created some community around this. You've put a call out to other friends who have lost friends to get together. Um, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about how that's happened, and has your writing called in the people? Has your one woman show called in the people? Whether you want to talk about the creative act of your one woman show, or the communal aspect, I'd love for you to share about both. So whatever feels right to share next.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it started with the one woman show because I did it out of it was just a need. Like I just had to say it and I had to be heard. And this was like a way to do that. Um, and after I shared my story, I got an email from someone who sh saw the show, who was a friend of a friend, and at the time I didn't know her. And she emailed me and she said, like, thank you so much. I also lost a friend, and you put words to what I was feeling, like feelings that I didn't think could be described in words.
Yeah.
And that, like, kind of unblocked something for her. Um, and that's really was like a tangible example of how sharing, even sharing your own story, can help other people feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
Like, even if I'm not able to actually reach someone directly and listen to them, even though I want to for as many people as I can, like, even telling my story, there might be a grain in there that resonates with them. And they're like, oh my God, that's exactly how I felt. I thought I was crazy or I thought I was the only one. Um, and that was just like really instigated me to being like, okay, like I want to keep doing this. I want to like I don't know, reach as many people as I can and really like tell the story. Um, so I started the podcast and I've been as much as I can just like really calling people to join the community
Mhm.
through, for example, grief groups.
Mhm.
Um, I've held a couple already and they were just so incredibly like so incredibly moving because a lot of what we talked about was we told the story of our friends to each other and shared who our friends were and the story of our friendship and just how much transformation that alone led to in several weeks. It was like all of us seeing and understanding each other and like being like, yes, like your friend is it so important to your life, which like the wider world does not recognize that because it is a disenfranchised grief, like friendship, love does not get the due that it deserves. And so because of that, like I feel like it's just so important that we gather and we talk to each other. And that's what I'm really trying to keep cultivating and growing.
Love that. That's what that's what I've been doing with the Grace Collective. We have a membership that's called the Grace Collective, and it's a community of women who are creative and spiritual, and they've all gone through different seasons of loss. Whether they've had deaths, or they're retired, and now the questions of who am I now, or
Yeah.
this life going in unexpected ways, and to just normalize that this we don't have to. I think people avoid like bereavement groups because they're so heavy, or they don't want to do
Mm,
hospice bereavement whatever counseling program, or they don't want to go start therapy, or they don't want to they don't want to attach to the heaviness and the suffering of what their idea of grief is, right? But when you have a long-term community, it's like, no, we're all sharing our love stories. And then
mm,
when we do that, and we build new friendships, then it's like, oh, then this is a platform actually to build new friendships
yeah.
and heard and understood. Then, oh, we've gone through the same thing, and then we have this bond because we understand each other. Then we gain these new friendships by bonding over the friendships we lost, right?
Yep.
We're in this next season, and life is always going to look different, and that's hard because we want to control it, right? We want to, there's a lot of recovering perfectionists in my community, like we were told we're supposed to be an A+ student, and
Yep.
to control it, and we need a 5-year plan, and we needed this, and it's like, and life comes in and it destroys your 5-year plan, and
Yep.
this life was not what you thought it was, and you thought you were going to have the yada yada marriage or the whatever whatever, and then you look around and go, life is not like that, and my friends are scattered.
Hmm.
So then just to have other people that are on the journey with you,
Yeah.
that is so important. And just to like understand, like, we're every day we go through loss, every day we go through celebration, every week, that's why I like to see things more in the perspective of nature. I'm an earth-based minister, so it's like we go through a winter, and then there's a spring,
Yeah.
and then we got to let go, fall again, and then we're going back under, right? And it happens over and over again. So just
Hmm.
relax and be like, we're on a ride. It's a roller coaster. It's going to go up, down, and all around,
Hmm.
and if we can allow and let go a little bit, then we can also enjoy some exhilaration and some pleasure and some fun and some creativity. It's all mixed up, and we think we have to silo, all the
Yeah.
things like, well, this is joy and this is love, but this is pain and this is it's like it's really more of a stew than our minds like to tell us it is,
Yeah.
right?
It's yeah, and your group sounds beautiful. Like I think it's just so important because the modern day world is very scattered. Like it's just and it's I'm still getting used to that as an adult. I'm like, wait, why are we so scattered? Like what? And like yeah, creating that community and that oneness is like it's so needed. It's so needed.
Yeah. And to have, and that's what's so beautiful about a lot of these women. They got to know each other in 2021 or two, and we're still hanging
Mm,
out in 2025, so that when new people join, it's like, oh, there's already like a web of trust currency of people that like trust each other, and I can relax into that. And yeah, it really is an antidote for the scattered world, because you're like, okay, I know once a month we're going to gather for this dream dancing with the ancestors ceremony. I know we're going to gather
mm,
community gathering. I know we're going to do this every first of the month and we're going to have our retreats. And so it's like something you can like fall back into in a rhythm that is not just a one off or a scattered or it's over in 4 weeks. Or
Yeah.
we have a lot of things that, we want to be free. And that leads
Mm-hmm.
to like doing a lot of things that are non-committal, I think. A lot of like
Mm-hmm.
do this one thing or this one week or this one, and then it's over. And then we feel like, okay, now I'm back to that scattered feeling again. I'm back to
Yeah.
phone. And we feel like we're grasping for a community in a lot of places. Um, so yeah, it's just as I'm talking about it, I realize, oh, that's one of the real values of having something that is a longer term, membership that can last for multiple years.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be like, oh, now it's 6 months and it's done, or it's a year and it's done, or it's 6 weeks and it's done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and we can chat about that, but I would love to, we actually have a welcoming into the Grace Collective several times a year. And, the month of September where it's an open door moment to welcome people in. So I'd love to actually have you as part of our community. And if folks are listening and they're resonating with this, like, oh my gosh, I need that, that
Mm-hmm.
I would welcome you to. We're going to do a couple of open to the public free events this week. Um,
Oh, nice.
that'll be happening already, once this drops. But open things to the public, once a month so that folks can feel a sense of community. And then there's the option to join and stay connected over the long term. And what I'm also, it's interesting. I had a conversation with someone recently and they were like, do you still think it's COVID in 2025? Are you still maybe I do. Maybe I still have. But it's like, okay, we need to have like one or two of our retreats because it's all been virtual, which we've really made work in a beautiful way.
Mm-hmm.
But to have like one international retreat and one stateside retreat every year
Mm-hmm.
can then drop in together, have that experience. But then the beauty of that, because I've been on so many retreats where you go on this like glorious thing or like the summer camp kind of syndrome where you're like together and it's
Mm-hmm.
for whatever it is, 6 weeks, 30 days, 10 days, 4 days, whatever you like, I'm deep
Mm-hmm.
in this thing and I've got these connections. And then the scatter, what is it called?
The great scattering.
It's like a mini scattering. Then the scattering,
Yeah.
then you're like, wait, was that a dream? What happened? And then there's no connection.
Mm-hmm.
So to have it built into the Grace Collective, then we go deep, but then we still are meeting a few times a month. And then you never have to
Yeah.
scatter. You never have to scatter.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So so with that being said, will you just tell us a little bit more about your creative process? Because that's what I found when people start being in flow and moving,
Mm-hmm.
then there's like this extra creative force that was kind of dammed up for a little bit. And I hear that in what you're saying around this one woman show. Would you just tell us a little bit about you picked the title, about how you picked the title? And I know
Mm-hmm.
it really moved people, but would you just share a little bit about your creative process with us?
Yeah, for like how I wrote the play specifically, or
Sure.
like in general.
Anything you want to share about that? Yeah, that feels relevant or resonant. Yeah.
Yeah. So f first, like what really helped me was to start really small.
Yeah.
And I joined a storytelling class that gave structure, which was really helpful. And first, we just had to write a 5-minute story.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if I didn't start small, the idea of writing a 1 hour thing would have been so overwhelming, I wouldn't have even started. So, like, I think that especially with big creative projects, truly, truly start small. Like, write one story, um, and then write another story, and then write another story, and they don't have to connect. Like, I wrote like a bunch of little stories before I even started to try to connect them and
Mm-hmm.
like find a through line.
Yeah.
Um, so and I remember it's a lot like putting together a puzzle, like like those big puzzles when it goes faster and faster when you get near the end.
Yeah.
Um, That's what it felt like. Like at first it was laboriously slow, and I'm like, I don't even know what this picture is going to look like, you know? And then as the pieces start to come together, it gets faster and faster and it starts making sense. So I think a lot of the process is trust. And that's something I'm working on with my book because it's much longer term than writing a play. Like I am having to just really hold on to trust that I just keep going, keep writing one story and another, or one chapter and another, and like eventually it will start making sense and I'll start really tying those threads together.
I love that. Thank you for those that feels like real practical advice too. Like if we think about, oh my God, I've got to write this whole book versus
Yeah.
one story, or let me start with 5 minutes. It's really important to, when we look at it that way, then it feels possible. So yeah.
Yeah. And I
Did
feel like it's, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like it's how healing happens too. Like one of the most helpful sermons my pastor gave, like it just, I don't know, like I just heard exactly what I needed to hear that day because I was panicking about, I don't know, healing as a person. And he was talking about how healing happens 15 minutes at a time.
Mhm.
And it was like I was like, "Oh my God, thank God." Because like I felt like I had to heal everything all at once. And just like, a project takes 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time, so does healing. And so does integrating your grief. Like
Mhm.
you only have to do it 5 5 minutes at a time, 1 minute at a time, whatever feels doable in that moment.
Yeah. And that's the value of really, staying with it long term. And yeah, I think we have this idea of like, I've got to be healed. It's got to be this whole, all
Yeah.
my childhood problems and all my whatever on this one healing retreat or this one grief ritual or this one, it's like, no, it's a lifelong process, just like, yeah, it's a lifelong process. So gosh, thank you for sharing Lauren with us. It was really touching just to hear about her and how the depth of your friendship really moved you into creation and into sharing. And so many people are benefiting from her life and from your friendship and from your grief and healing and creativity journey that are really, it's all one thing, I think. We like to
Hmm.
separate everything out, but the grief journey is the healing journey, is the love journey, is the creativity journey. It's really all one giant tapestry. So thank you for sharing with us. And I know our time is coming to a close. I'd love for you to share with folks, is your podcast active? What is it called? Is that the best way for folks to stay in touch with you? Is there, social media you want to share with us, a website? What's the best way?
Yeah, so I tried to make it easy to remember. So the podcast is called Friends Missing Friends. I am on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm most active on Instagram. It's at Friends Missing Friends. And you can email me as well. Feel free to reach out. My email is friendsmissingfriends@gmail.com. And my website is friendsmissingfriends.com. So when in doubt, it's just Friends Missing Friends. So hopefully that makes it easy.
So easy. So if you are missing a friend, which so many of us are, and maybe we've
Hmm.
a friend recently or it's been a long time, but maybe we didn't really grieve that friendship because we had other things going on in our life. Um, and now we're feeling that loss, or maybe it's, the scattering of friends and they're still alive, but you're missing your friends.
Hmm.
That's happened for me. I have friends that are, moving to Europe and, friends I haven't spoken to, and just feeling the loss of friends who actually died or who just aren't present so much in your life anymore, and really grieving that. So um yeah, definitely stay connected with Hannah and Friends Missing Friends on Instagram, Gmail, her website. I love it. It's gmail.com, and IP handle are all the same. That you made it really easy for everybody. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your heart. And I think anytime that we feel someone's story and it helps us to cry, that is a healing act. It's every time someone listens to a podcast like this, that is 5 minutes of healing or 45 minutes of healing. So
Yeah.
know that when you listen to something like this, any of Hannah's work or this podcast or anything else that is moving to your heart and that brings you to tears, that tears are cleansing, they are healing. And that is part of the grieving healing journey that is the same thing.
Yes. And thank you so much for having me and talking with me about this. I so appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Until next time. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for listening. You are a vital part of this podcast. You are why we are here. Let us close today by placing a hand on our hearts and a hand on our bellies, feeling our breath move through our bodies. May we feel connected. May we be at peace. May we be love. As we breathe, let us acknowledge that in this moment we are, in fact, alive, and this is a miraculous gift. Let's bow our heads gently to our hearts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing something healing and kind in this moment right now. We give great thanks. We give great thanks. We give great thanks. And it is done until next time. May you walk gently out in the world and be gentle and loving with yourself. Much love from my heart to yours, and bye for now.